Hello guys. As you can see, I am joined here by my manager, who insisted on being here at the start of the stream instead of her usual late stream entry. Are you even gonna look at the camera, or are you just gonna, okay, just purr into the mic? Shave the cat? No. Hello guys. Seems like there's a few new faces even. Yep. This is the perfect time to try to be nuzzly. All hail our kitty overlords. So how's everybody doing this Friday afternoon? It is afternoon. I don't care about your European times. Ah yes, like that old case of leprosy to get out of work. A lack of gazemen, you are right. We should fix that right now. Oh, that's true. You West Coast people are still mourning. My green screen seems to be off. What's going on? Oh yeah, let's fix that, I guess. I think it's just the lighting more so than the green screen. Is that better? You really are just gonna sit here the whole stream, aren't you? So, I believe you guys are here for a certain new mastery that we are releasing with the Forgotten Gods expansion. I think you guys already know what it's called, Oathkeeper. If you haven't seen our preview on the forum, I suggest you do check it out sometime, maybe after this. On Monday, we're actually going to show you a little bit more of the Oathkeeper on the forum, although you guys might actually see a bunch of that today for yourselves. You hope the stream isn't polluted with filthy paladins? Well, you're in luck, because this character is a warlord. Warlord, the superior paladin. Alright. So I've already shown you guys this skill in action on the dev update. But let's just do it one more time. So at the base level of this skill, you're actually only going to hit one target. The ages of men here. But once you get that first modifier, extra targets. I don't think we could make a shield mastery without having a skill like this. This is just too much fun. Yes, there's a reason a certain character in an earlier stream was called Captain America. For sure, complete coincidence. 10 out of 10 sound effect. Great. The second modifier, though, not only does it add a little bit of retaliation damage to the skill, but it also gives it a chance to reset its cooldown. Sort of like Ulduin's Chosen. No. And the transmuter, for those of you interested in going a little bit more of the Dreeg side of things, you can make the Aegis of Thorns, increasing the retaliation damage bonus, and converting the fire damage to acid. And of course it changes the visual. Your character will be named Xena. Seems appropriate. Oathkeeper plus Nightblade with a shield? Let's see why not. I mean, there's a certain modifier on a certain item that turns the Oathkeeper's Virus Might cold. So, why not? Oathkeeper Nightblade builds when? Transmuters change skill effect colors. Not all transmuters do. It's kind of a case-by-case basis as we have time to do it and how easy it is to do. This one was pretty doable. It's actually based off of a previous skills kind of tech. So we could just swap out the projectile, no problem. And boom. How many targets can a shield hit max? If you max it out, you can get up to 5 targets. But there are item modifiers that can push that further. In fact, I think the set... Yeah, so in fact the Oathkeeper class set actually adds 2 more targets to that. So how about that 7 targets? Can I make the UI a little bit bigger? Which UI are you looking for? I mean, I could scale it up for this stream, I guess. Does the first target always take more damage than the ricochets? No, the damage is full across all targets. Why is it green? Because I did a transmuter. Wow, I can't spell.
Let me clear your mind of regrets.
If I turn it back, it's golden again. Golden and fiery. I mean, the zoom up camera? The camera's as zoomed out as it's gonna be. What do you mean zoom up camera? You can't wait to make a paladin. Paladin seems to be a very popular one. We'll have to nerf it or something. Grimdawn best RPG ever discussed? What's there to discuss? Zoom in. Okay, I can zoom in. You have come late. Are there shield WPS procs, weapon pool procs? There are, and we haven't actually gotten to them yet, so you are not late. Any new minion in expansion? Depends on what you mean by minion. If you mean by summon, like summoned pets, there's at least 2. If I recall, there might be 3. Well, we'll get to the Oathkeeper summons in a bit. Although they're not pet scaling. How can you learn to summon a lady that clears your mind of regrets in real life? She might be a phone call away, depending on where you are. I don't have a recommendation for you, but you work on that. So, that's just Ages of Men here. We got a whole skill tree here to look at. Although I'm not sure I'm going to show you all of it. You guys really deserve to see all this coolness in one go. Will you see some new skill modifiers for skills of old masteries? Of course, because there's going to be new gear. That gear will not only support the new Oathkeeper mastery, it's also going to support the existing classes, and you're going to see all sorts of new modifiers, new sets, themed around existing abilities. There should be some interesting cool stuff. You'd like to know more about Ouroboros? I bet you would. And maybe you'll find out a little more. You're the coolest, I can show it all. I don't know, do you have your cool badge with you? It's got 2 ultimate skills, yes. It has 2 exclusive skills. Yes, I'm sure you guys will keep it a secret from the forums, even though it's going to get uploaded to YouTube and linked on the forums later. My favorite class combination. I mean, that's gotten pretty tough now. I still like playing my Spellbreaker, but Nightblade Arcanist. But I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite. Oathkeeper is some really cool stuff, guys. We did too much cool stuff. Too much. Ouroborg is actually just a homeless man that fooled everyone into thinking he's cool. How did you know? You're technically extremely cool. Did the beta testing for Forgotten Gods already begin? So, most of the expansion at this point is actually still in internal testing. And the closed testing group has, for the last few weeks, had access to the Shattered Realm game mode, which they've been playing through for a while. We've made some additions, like we've brought it a lot closer to release state. Like it's almost feature complete now. So they've been kind of playing through it from like the alpha stages up and up. I would say now it's in beta, and soon enough it'll be feature complete. So they've kind of seen it from its bare bones state all the way up to it's getting cooler and cooler. And there's still more to come for them if there's any of the playtesters in here. So right now the Shattered Realm game mode is up to I think 21 unique floors, and we're still adding more. There's going to be more boss floors, so it's getting big, and it's getting awesome. Is Oathkeeper the only mastery getting added in Forgotten Gods? Yes. Effectively, each mastery we add is an exponential increase in the amount of work that's required to implement. Because not only are we having to account for every previous mastery that came out and its synergy with it, we have to make more items, and then we have to make old items work with the new mastery, and eventually that's going to get out of control. In fact, it's getting kind of ridiculous already. No picking up Shattered Souls, please add them to the counter automatically. So I have something to tell you about that. We actually changed that mechanic since we showed it to you guys. So what happens now in the Shattered Realm, and this is something that we'll actually talk about in an upcoming development update when we give you guys kind of a rundown of everything that's coming to the feature complete Shattered Realm. Currently, every monster you kill actually increments the bar, and occasionally monsters will drop Shattered Souls. And those souls not only fill the bar more, they also give you a power-up. So regular mobs have a chance to drop these souls, hero mobs always drop them, and nemesis bosses drop like a super-powered one. So it's no longer just about filling the bar by collecting these souls. Like the bar will just fill up inevitably, but the souls are kind of like a boost to do it faster and to help you kill things faster and die less. Does the Hexpack have Azurite? No. Thoughts about letting the GD community make some maps to add also? I mean, that's mod. Just go ahead and mod it in. Add whatever levels you guys want. Officially, we'll be only adding our own. You need a shirt like mine? Maybe someday. It would be nice to have a merch store, but someone has to manage it. That's the trick. Do I fear the possibility that people will always avoid Nemesis bosses? I mean, I think that should be a strategic choice. The Nemesis bosses will give you pretty potent power-up, and they're actually going to be nerfed from their baseline state, kind of like in the Crucible. They're not going to have as much health. They're not going to do as much damage. You're throwing your money at the screen, but it's not working. Throw it harder, or maybe throw it into an envelope and ship it too. Is it going to be the same price as Ashes of Malmeth on launch? We haven't finalized the pricing yet. I would say it'll be comparable to Ashes of Malmeth. It'll definitely in the $10 to $20 range. I think it is a substantial amount of content for you guys. A giant chapter of story, the endless dungeon, the new mastery, the transmuter, inventor skill or feature. Yeah, if you're awesome, you won't avoid the Nemesis bosses. How come the game crashes at the moment so often on changing places or teleporting? I mean, there's a bunch of things you could try to debug that. First off, you should verify your game files. Latest drivers, latest VC++, redists, things to try, because that's if it is happening to you, that is a rare issue. And if all that fails, that's when you report it, and we can try to see if we can narrow down your problem. And of course, when you do report it, make sure to include as much information as possible. That's all. Stop typing for 30 seconds to see if I show more stuff. Okay, I'm actually gonna show more stuff. Too many questions. How many new enemy faction with Nemesis? Just one. The Eldritch Terrors. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the 2 weapon pool skills for the Oathkeeper. The first one is called Smite. It actually works with any weapon combination. But when you strike with a shield, it hits with both the shield and the weapon. Boom. Let's try it with a 2-hander. There. Will there be a way to swap item affixes? I don't think so. The Oathkeeper doesn't have 3 weapon pool procs, it has 2. The first one is actually a passive for shields. New rooms for Crucible? I'm not sure. We'll think about it. We might add one post-release. We're definitely not adding one at release. The current variety, though, is pretty good, and I'm not sure how much more different we could make other layouts in an interesting way. Will Forgotten Gods be available via pre-order? It is not going to be via pre-order. Just like with Ashes of Malmeth, we did not do a pre-order, and we're not planning to do one here. Stab them with the hammer. Well, if you stab them hard enough. Do these work with ranged? Yes. Come on. There. Do I think the US government is going to have laws against bringing a shield to school since we're weaponizing shields? I think it'll be up to individuals to decide for themselves whether a shield is a safe thing or not. Will there be a level cap increase or devotion point increase? Level cap is staying pretty similar. The devotion cap is not changing at all. It's staying at 55. That is for balance reasons. We believe that 55 is actually a pretty good place where you have difficult choices and each character can kind of make their own path without overlapping too much. New roguelike someday in Forgotten Gods, or is 4 enough? First off, 4 is probably enough, and the Endless Dungeon, the Shattered Realm, I feel is actually a pretty good alternative for that. Not to mention that we're adding the challenge layers, which I've talked about in an earlier development update, and that actually makes the existing roguelike dungeons much more interesting. On top of having better loot to compensate. Is the Oathkeeper going to have any healing skills? Sort of. Just make a layout for Crucible of a gigantic roof over the whole arena so people stop complaining about Alexander. Sounds like a great solution. Dual wield ranged. Yeah, the WPS Smite works with that. You prefer the old main menu screen? Can you in the future choose between menu screens? And same for load screens. We need more load screens. I hear you guys on the main menu screen swap. I'm not sure how likely this to happen because that's kind of a fluff feature for something that we need programmers to spend time on other things. I can't really promise you that. We'll think about it since it does seem to come up a lot. The loading screens, though, are randomized. It's going to cycle between the Occultist, the Ashes of Malmeth, Ether Lady, and Forgotten Gods dude. Is there a release date for the Xbox version of the game? The Xbox port is coming along. I will tell you that it will almost certainly come out after Forgotten Gods. Reason for that is that it would make sense, most likely, what we'll do is actually make the Xbox version a bundle of all the expansions and the base game. That way there's not going to be any fragmenting of the community on the console version. Second WPS showcase or riot. Don't riot yet. Next one is called Shattering Smash. This one is a shield only technique. And I'll show it to you right now. It's pretty fun because it's an AoE. You smash the ground of your shield and send a shockwave forward. This works kind of similarly to Upheaval, where it hurts the initial target and then it sends that cone that hurts the target and everyone behind it. Are we going to get a patch before the expansion? Probably. I'm not sure yet how we'll do the release schedule on that. But patch 1.0.7.0 is going to be a balance patch. It is going to come probably before or shortly before the Forgotten Gods expansion is released. And that's going to apply to all versions of the game. The base game, Ashes of Malmeth, and Forgotten Gods. Any updates on the 3 difficulties in campaign? I mentioned a few dev streams ago that you were going to suggest a way to the team to improve on it. No headway on that yet, because there are other priorities that we're focusing on, mainly the Shattered Realm features. Like I said, I do have an idea for how we could streamline it a little bit, but that has to be reviewed by the programmer and see how doable it's going to be, how many issues it's going to create. Because there are concerns regarding skipping difficulties in regards to attribute and skill rewards from quests. And we can't simply just take those away because certain characters have already done it. And we can't give you more because those characters would then have more. And actually editing quests is also kind of a mess. If we change quests too much, it actually creates an issue where quests could end up wiped from your quest log, and then we have to come up with a way to restore them, and it can be a mess, which is why it's a complicated challenge. Any graphical updates upcoming? Nothing substantial. I mean, we kind of push ourselves to make the game look better and better as we go. So you certainly see some things I argue look better than the original game ever did. But that's just kind of natural progression as we, push the limits of what this engine can do. This WPS does not work with ranged. It requires a melee weapon. Is Ether Ray getting buffed in the bounce patch? Yes, we have taken a look at Ether Ray. It has been reviewed for not only the base skill to help you make the leveling smoother, but it is also getting an upgrade to many of its skill modifiers on gear. Any pack plan with all DLC included? I think down the line that's pretty likely, like a GOTY edition or something. It's kind of weird how people call those Game of the Year editions when it's like, well, did you actually get nominated for that? But, oh well, seems to be the standard. Any new default attack replacer with Oathkeeper? So I do see that question come up a lot. Does the Oathkeeper have an auto attack replacer? And the answer to your question is yes. Righteous Fervor functions mechanically similar to Savagery, but it has that little bit of retribution to go with it. I should probably put on my button. But that's not good enough for Crate Entertainment. We're not just going to give you a weapon pool, or sorry, an attack replacer. We're going to give you an attack replacer that lets you join Dreeg. So if you take Dreeg's Reproach, you're going to turn that physical damage to acid and that fire damage to vitality. So you're getting 2 attack replacers for the price of 1. Is there more information about the 64-bit version for internal testing which showed up on the launcher? So that's kind of a funny thing. So we implemented that for internal testing, and the playtesters are actually playing on the 64-bit version of the game now. And for some reason, Steam wouldn't let us set it for beta only. It had to be available to all of you. So we had to say like internal test only. So whenever one of you tries to launch it, nothing happens because you literally don't have the executable to do so. But yes, at this point, the 64-bit version is in a pretty good state. I think it's very likely that it'll be added to the PC version with the next patch. It is all up to RIS to decide whether all the bugs are ironed out. And last I checked, it was pretty good. It was pretty stable. Will this video be saved today? Of course. It's going to be up on Twitch for a while, and then sometime in the next week or two, Grava will get it up on YouTube for you. Ether array energy cost is also getting reduced. Acid seems off theme with the Oathkeeper. Depends how you look at it, I guess. I suggest you read our preview of the Oathkeeper mastery, because that is actually exactly what we were going for. When we came up with this mastery, we kind of thought like Acid could use more skill options, but a shield mastery is kind of a logical next step. So how do we combine those two things? And then there's of course the Paladin theme that people really like. And then it kind of hit us like Paladins in the traditional sense are, holy warriors, but kind of how D&D's done it in the past, it kind of depends on which god you're worshipping. So that's how we came up with the Oathkeeper design. Like Oathkeepers are bound to the gods, but it really depends on which god you're worshipping. If you worship Empyrion, then you might be a righteous holy warrior, sending fire down upon your enemies. But if you bind yourself to the witch gods, that's a different story. And that's how we get all this acid theme, when you bind yourself to Dreeg, the great guardian. Did we monitor performance improvements with the 64-bit version? I strongly suspect that most people will not see any substantial difference between the 64 and 32-bit version of the game. Excuse me. And the main thing the 64-bit version allows you to do is access more memory. And that's not something that GD necessarily struggles with, but it is a necessary step to getting it up on console. And PC just gets the benefit of the console development again. What's the aura? Oh, maybe we'll get to that. What's the first passive on the attack replacer? It is called Consecration. Which Oathkeeper combination do I like the most? In terms of gameplay or the name? Because I'm kind of partial to Sentinel. Like that seemed like such a good fit after we had the Sentinel boss in the Witch God dungeon, to have Oathkeeper plus Occultist be a Sentinel as well. What exactly is Drig the guardian of? He's the guardian of the Eldritch Realm, to prevent mortals from stepping in there. Or at least he was for a time. Do some devotion procs get the percentage retaliation damage treatment? You tell me. Yes. Targo's Hammer, Autumn Boar, some new ones. Yes, you'll see retaliation damage being added to several devotion procs. Will there be an impact if Kaiman's chosen the order if you choose the Oathkeeper? Like there's with Necromancer, for example, where the chosen just ignore your offer. We might do some extra dialogue for Kaiman's chosen with Oathkeepers, as they're kind of the religious side of things, but Oathkeepers, given their variance in who they worship, don't really have the same kind of stigma with the Necromancers as an Inquisitor would. And likewise, Kaiman's chosen wouldn't really see them as bad for the same reasons. Is Consecration a self-buff like Might of the Boar? Yes. Yes, it is. As long as you have Righteous Fervor charges, you will have the Consecration buff. Are the names up for change? What does that mean? Unless we had a strong reason, no? The game has roguelike dungeons, Crucible, and soon Shattered Realm as 3 forms of endgame. Do you guys design them so that each mode is best at farming a certain thing? And if so, could you elaborate, or do you guys not think about that? No, we do think about that. We want to make sure that each one is viable for one reason or another. For roguelike dungeons have the guaranteed drops. They are not as difficult to run as, say, the highest levels of the Crucible. They have those monster infrequents, guaranteed drops of those. And coming with the Forgotten Gods, there will actually be a unique item set that drops across the 4 roguelike dungeons. So you will not be able to get that set anywhere else unless you farm those roguelike dungeons final bosses. Likewise, Crucible, I think Crucible is kind of cemented as this proving ground, and it has lucrative drops if your character's geared. So I don't think that will ever go away. And Shattered Realm, it scales in difficulty much more than the Crucible ever will, but in return, it has that unique item set. It has the most powerful rune augments. And again, rune augments you should read about in our previous development updates. Those are how you get your new movement skills that we're adding in Forgotten Gods. Can I tell you more about the release date? Yeah, that question's been coming up over and over and over, and what I'm going to tell you guys is that we're actually going to be pushing back the expansion to Q1 2019. Probably not the answer people wanted to hear to that question. There's a couple reasons for that. We want more time to kind of keep our Create Entertainment's quality bar. The expansion has gotten really big, as is our standard, you can imagine. So it is once again a really big expansion with way too much stuff. And just when we've gotten certain things to internal testing, we aren't really fully happy with them as they were. And given that we have the option to extend the deadline, like we're not bound to publisher due dates here. And so we thought, why stick to what we think is okay when we know we can do better. So we're actually revising some of the areas we've built. We've had some animations that needed revising. So yes, sorry, it's gonna come out Q1 2019, not 2018. It's official. It's not coming this year. Does this mean Grim Dawn 2 is also pushed back? Yeah, I think the hypothetical Grim Dawn 2 is definitely getting pushed back because of this. When it's ready is always the best answer. I agree, and that is precisely what our goal is here. We want to give you guys the best experience for your money. We want to give you the best we can do, and that's why we want to give ourselves more time. Because again, we're not beholden to publisher deadlines. We have that option, and we're going to use it. We're not gonna release a half-assed X pack? I know, sorry. Will there at least be a patch? Like I said, we'll see about when to release patch 1.0.7. It might come sooner. Show Whirlwind for Christmas? Maybe I'll show you Whirlwind today. Any plans to improve the multiplayer feature? You understand we don't have the IT infrastructure for server location. For example, TQ, many people still play multiplayer by internet. GD, everybody's still single mode. I mean, I don't know why TQ everybody would be playing multiplayer, not GD, when GD has the superior multiplayer setup. I mean, I don't know what you're describing by improve. It's not like Titan Quest has seasons or something. Yeah, sorry guys, it's gonna be back to dating simulators for some of you, I guess. You'll forgive me if I show you Whirlwind? Okay, I'll show you Whirlwind. But it's not called Whirlwind. It is known as the Eye of Reckoning. Yes, the programmer has gone behind the scenes and implemented a Whirlwind ability. The 7th movement skill type in the game. And it's exclusive to the Oathkeeper mastery and 1 relic. Eye of Reckoning requires a melee weapon, as you can guess. It works with every weapon set. Dual wield, two-hander. Whoa, 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 you guys are getting way too excited. You have no idea how cool this actually gets. You think this is it? You think this is all the Eye of Reckoning is? Well, let me show you what the Eye of Reckoning is. Now its modifier, Soulfire, adds a little bit of a twist to the standard Whirlwind formula. Yeah, that's the Eye of Reckoning, guys. I told you the Oathkeeper has some really cool stuff. How do you make spin to win better? By adding more spin. Why are we so fucking good? I don't know. It's probably because we delay games. But really, I am intensely proud of how this skill turned out. It is so much fun. The programmer did an amazing job at getting this to work in an engine that wasn't built to have a channeled skill that lets you move around. Like that in itself was quite a complicated endeavor, I'll tell you. This Oathkeeper really needs some more testing soon. Yeah, I bet it does. So yeah, Eye of Reckoning, guys. You got your Whirlwind, and then some. So am I forgiven for the delay now? I think I am. Do you have some skill modifiers already planned for this skill? Of course. The itemization, in terms of stats, is actually finished. We still need a lot more item art, though. A lot more item art needs to be done. And you know those artists like to make some pretty hot-looking gear. How does the whirlwind work with movement skills? I mean, works how you'd expect. You're either channeling the skill, or you're casting your movement skill. I mean, it's two separate abilities. Will Oathkeeper be restricted to comments chosen like Necromancer is to Death Vigil? As I mentioned earlier, actually, I guess maybe you weren't in the stream yet when this was asked. The Oathkeeper, due to its flexibility in terms of worship of gods, does not have a restriction. Either side will see them as welcome. Forgiven only if I show the new pets too, huh? You just keep raising the cost here. You're a new player, you just want to tell us thank you for such a great game, and you don't even play our expansions, Ashes of Malmouth, yet. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I do highly recommend you pick up Ashes of Malmouth if you're enjoying the base game, because Ashes of Malmouth takes on all that you love and makes it better. How much money do you have to spend so you can spin with guns? Now that would be a complicated endeavor. I've said the level cap will be similar instead of the same. Does that mean decked out characters will need to get new max level versions to stay strong in Cruci's Shattered Realm? How do I answer that question? How many spoilers do I give you guys today? Seems like I've given you guys quite the spoiler already here. The level cap is not changing. It's staying at 100. We felt that having to recollect all of that gear you've already had on all your favorite characters just so it could be, 10% stronger, it's kind of a sucky feeling this late into the game. So what we're giving you instead is tons more new gear to hunt for. We're giving you new movement skills to hunt for, and we're giving you a new game mode where you can push those characters to the limit. And you'll be able to earn skill points and attribute points through quests and through the Shattered Realm. So no level cap increase in Forgotten Gods. Will you level up in the Shattered Realm, or do you have to do it otherwise? The Shattered Realm does grant you XP. I think time will tell for people to decide if it's the most efficient way to do it or not. From the playtesting phase, we've actually rewritten the XP formula for the Endless Realm, Shattered Realm, 3 times now. I think I'm happy with it now. I'll have to do more testing. The idea is that you get a reasonable amount of XP, but not like an excessive amount that it's like the only way to play if you want to level alts. And no, absolutely no Paragon levels. I am personally adamantly against Paragon level style gameplay. Where's Zantai's cat? I don't know. She seems to be asleep somewhere. Yes, devotion levels are staying the same. The level cap is staying the same. What's been my favorite thing working on Grim Dawn as a whole? Sorry if that's been asked before. If I had to name one thing, I would say the devotion system. That was one of the biggest challenges that I've had to face, like kind of from a design perspective. And it turned out, I would say, pretty satisfying. I am very proud of how the devotion system turned out. Plans to improve the multiplayer experience like a hub or global chat. That is unlikely. Those kind of things would require a central server for you to connect to, a central service, which is something we're not going to do for Grim Dawn. Maybe if we ever do Grim Dawn 2, that's something we'll consider. But for the base game, no. Or for Grim Dawn 1, no. Alright, someone said show me aura, someone said show me passives, someone said show exclusive skills, and someone said show pets. Which one are we doing next? Start yelling, which one do you want to see next? Ascension exclusive pet. Man, it's like every single thing's different. Okay, pets, 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 pets. Yeah, you guys want pets. This is actually a pretty cool pet. So, the Guardian of Empyrion is a player scaling pet. And it looks like this.
That skill's not ready.
But why have one? But that's not enough. You can't just have a pet that slashes things. That's so typical. We also have the Celestial Presence on this pet. And yes, that is an actual cleave. So this pet gets an aura that hurts your enemies, reducing their resistances, and any damage that aura deals is converted to health for you, the player. And some of you might have noticed there's a transmuter on this pet. Yes, you can make it the Scion of Dreeg. You're sure it also delivers reflect damage to the player via glitch? I mean, it's not a glitch. The pet is an extension of you, so any damage it does is effectively your damage. And that's why reflect works that way off of pets that scale with you. Is there a way to make those permanent? Not permanent, but there are skill modifiers that help you make them last longer, and effectively you get more than 2 of them out at once. Yes, there are item modifiers to increase duration. How many of them can be summoned? How short can you get the cooldown? Sino hates pets. Do you hate this pet? I do have to say it was kind of amusing reading the Praetorian discussions on this, on the data stuff they data mined on this new class, and how they're trying to figure out how Celestial Presence fits into the mix. I think they were wrong, but they know now. Did we add new item modifiers for old classes too? Of course. As I said, there's hundreds of new items. Those items not only support the new mastery, but also the old ones. So you can expect all sorts of new skill modifiers. Let's see. Let me actually just pop open the spreadsheet here. Yeah, at release, Forgotten Gods is adding 12 new sets. Are we going to be updating anything on other existing classes? I mean, that's a patch effectively. That is what patch V 1.0.7.0 is going to be. It's going to be our next bouncing pass on the game. And that's going to be the stuff that's already there. We're going to be taking a look at a lot of existing skills. We took a look at a lot of items. The item change list is pretty long for this next patch, I'll tell you that. We've been taking a look at the discussions on the forum, so if you guys have feedback, the forum is the best place to post it. We do read it, we do consider it. You can impact the game. You just have to be concise and constructive. Telling us game sucks is generally not a good way to go about it. Does it scale with pet player modifiers or pet ones? As I mentioned, it is a player scaling pet. Will there be new secret areas too, or is the old world finished? There'll be new secret areas in the new zones, of course, but we're not adding secrets to existing areas, if that's what you mean. Will there be any farmable sets like Ashes of Malmeth? Yes, so there's two farmable sets. The one from the roguelike dungeons, and the one from the Shattered Realm. Please tell us there will be a loot filter search option implemented for stash. I'm not sure how likely it is for the stash, because the stash UI is very cramped. I would like to see if we can do something for the devotion screen and for the crafting UI, but I can't promise you that right now. It's something we'll investigate, and whether it makes it into the game is a matter of how feasible it is. UI stuff in this engine unfortunately tends to be kind of complicated. Totems are just pets without legs. Exactly. Will there be monster infrequent gloves with modifiers? Surely. Surely not. We are actually not adding glove monster frequents. We're sticking to our guns there. There will, however, be some new crafting recipes for you to find for legs and for gloves. Will the new scaling system modifiers for roguelike dungeons be optional with toggle? No, there are no plans to make that a toggled option. Is the roguelike dungeon for FG included at release? We are not going to be adding a roguelike dungeon with Forgotten Gods. The reason being is that the Shattered Realm is effectively the roguelike dungeon of Forgotten Gods. It kind of fills a similar role in that it's challenging content, it's randomized, there's powerful rewards inside. Still no Kyle level, no. Can we see one of the witch gods in this expansion? I guess you'll find out. Are we planning to release Grim Dawn on console? We are working on an Xbox port. It is kind of in the certification checklist process, which means that it has a bunch of stuff on the checklist that need to be done before it can be released on console, and that's kind of where it is right now. It is almost certainly going to come out after Forgotten Gods. Can we see one of the 2 exclusive buffs now? Enough questions. This person wants results. Alright, there's 2. I'm gonna show you 1. Top or bottom? Which one of the 2? Nope, just 1. Top exclusive or bottom exclusive? Pick. Top. I see this card as more of a top than bottom. Alright. Top it is. Divine Mandate. This exclusive is built around physical and fire damage. Both, yeah, I'm sure. Okay, bottom now. Haha. Will there be any changes to the Malmeth expansion? I mean, any sort of balance changes that occur, like in the upcoming patch, will apply to Ashes of Malmeth. We'll continue to support Ashes of Malmeth through balance updates and bug fixes as we had for the base game after Forgotten Gods comes out. But in terms of new content, once Forgotten Gods is out, that's going to be Forgotten Gods content. You have an interesting question. Is 3 that same nemesis for what wave 150 normal or a bug? It's not a bug. It's random which nemesis you get. You could get the same one 3 times potentially, or you could get different ones. There are some rules in terms of like certain ones not repeating, but yes, you could get the same one 3 times. I think it specifically said that you can't get 3 Iron Maidens, for example. That'd be mean. Oh, activated. Yeah, I suppose I could. It's actually a pretty cool look. Will we add veteran mode to Elite and Ultimate 2? I don't think so. Devotion cap is not increasing. Where in the Jiru world does the expansion start? It actually begins in any of the major quest hubs, like Malmith, Homestead, Devil's Crossing, Witch Coven. Because you will actually use a portal to take yourself to where the Corvin Basin is located. The land of the lost Corvin people. Do the runes have a meaning? I mean, they're Oathkeeper runes. How many maps for the Shattered Realm so far? We're actually adding more right as we speak. I think Grava is working on those. I think we're up to 21 now, and we're still adding more. Do I want to show the whirlwind text again? Sure. Eye of Reckoning. Any updates on what may or may not be happening with Elite? So that question was asked earlier. We are not going to cut difficulties. You will always have the option of playing through normal, Elite, Ultimate. I have ideas for how we could streamline that experience, but we're not going to cut difficulties. Until the next delay? No, I think Q1 2019 is a pretty likely time frame. Bring the spirit guide back to Devil's Crossing and put Inventor in all hubs. Doesn't really make sense thematically to bring the spirit guide back to Devil's Crossing. However, in the Forgotten Gods quest hub, you will have access to every single service NPC all in one place. Yep, there you go. Grava just confirmed. 21 endless dungeon levels as of today. 12 last time? In that case, it's actually 24, because I wasn't counting the boss levels. Will you get access to the area east of Devil's Crossing, the area of the Broken Bridge? I think you're talking about south of Devil's Crossing, and the answer is actually no. There's several reasons for that. The biggest one is camera. From default camera, going south is kind of sucky. And in terms of story, it didn't quite make sense. When we were actually working on Ashes of Malmouth originally, when we were still scoping out exactly where it's going to take place in the world, how it's going to flow, the story actually had you go south first to meet with the witches, and then go way, way north to Malmouth. But it actually kind of sucked to play that way, and it felt kind of disconnected. So it felt much smoother to kind of progress north and then pop up further north. And that's what we ended up with for Ashes of Malmouth. Do we have any plans to simulate some of these inventory stash mods for a $5 or $10 fee? Our players would be happy to spend that while also not splintering the player base as much with mods. I mean, the people that have created these utilities for you guys have done this of their own free will for free, and us basically taking that and charging money for it seems very unfair to them. And from our development perspective, like, we have design decisions for why the bags are limited as they are. It is not just arbitrary limit to screw you guys over. Like, there are genuine reasons why this is the case. But for those of you that want more stash space, that is why we allow modding, and that is why you can use those utilities. So you can have as much space as you want. And since they work outside of the game, they actually don't splinter the player base. you can't only play with people who use GD stash or GDIA. Like, you can play with everybody. Will there be a chaos-based auto attack replacer? Cause chaos needs some love. I'm in a good mood. I'll show you something. Look at all that gear. All that loot. Your question was, do you get a chaos attack replacer? Now, caveat right now, this gear is work in progress. The art is obviously not finished. If anybody judges this gear for how it looks, can I mouse over all the items? Yeah, it would be here till like the next day. Oops. Yay, specifically to be harder than ever to find. So I have two things to say to you regarding that. First off, as we did with Ashes of Mammoth when we added more loot, we are increasing drop rates to compensate for the increased loot variety. And one of the features being introduced in Forgotten Gods for the Inventor NPC is called the set transmuter, or set transmutation. So you will be able to take a set piece and convert it into either a random other set piece or a random set piece from the same set, effectively reducing your risk of getting duplicates significantly. If you get a duplicate, that's actually great. You can turn it into another set piece or an entirely new set. That's the only set you see today. Look at all this stuff. Look at all this gear. Can you see the attack? Yes, that's actually where I'm headed right now. Might be better with a gun. When will the DLC be out? So that question was asked earlier. The DLC is coming Q1 2019. What happened to Korvac's mythical relic skill? It's been replaced. It's no longer a charge skill. That's actually been relegated to the new rune augments. I'm not going to show you. You'll see for yourself. Any chance to get a new intro, or is it still very unlikely? Those are just great. I agree with you. Those are great. It does suck that we're probably not going to have one this time around for various reasons. But yeah, I don't think we'll unfortunately be doing one for Forgotten Gods this time. Do we plan on buffing Kaliska, the Bone Hunter? He seems a little weak. Might take a look at him, I guess. Side bosses like that don't necessarily have to be super hard. Especially one for a quest like that. Are we removing Chaos Strike from Riftstones? Yes. So just like with the Korvac's Deception relic, the Riftstone is also going to lose its mobility skill. It's going to get a Chaos Aura instead. Any new items which change Eye of Reckoning skill? Of course. Solisle demands sacrifices. Show Solisle and Bismil skills. We only saw Drieg ones. Well, the Oathkeeper skill set is themed around Drieg. For all that acid damage. How much did you miss except for 75% of the stream? Oh, you know, only about 75% of the stream. You want to see what Ascension does. Will it make your character bigger? You must be referring to how Possession used to work during beta. There's a reason why that doesn't exist anymore, because it was buggy as hell, and actually kind of sucky. Like, it made your character so big that you couldn't fit through certain doorways. It had these issues where, like, the visual wouldn't stay if you transitioned through a door, like a transition to a dungeon, or like you'd get stuck big permanently, but effectively your character has already shrunk. So like it had so many problems, it just wasn't working out. What about making you smaller? Will the character cap be increased? So many items and builds. You're referring to the Steam Cloud character cap. Unfortunately, we can't increase that. That is actually a file limit that is set by Steam for cloud saves. Effectively, if we let you make any more characters than 50, you're going to go over the character limit and your save files are going to start getting corrupted, which is a bad thing. So unfortunately, we can't increase that cap for Steam Cloud. If you want unlimited characters, I recommend switching to local saves, and then you can have as many as you want. Will there also be a component which buffs lightning damage? Oh, you're talking about like a lightning aura? I mean, we're not adding any more components. Why is Necromancer Press Oathkeeper called Oppressor? Because he oppresses things. How do we split our workload? Do I work exclusively on Grim Dawn? I probably have other projects going on as well. How many current employees currently working on Grim Dawn? Yes, I work exclusively on Grim Dawn. I have, in the past, stepped off for moments here and there to assist with our other project, but that was only kind of like a little temporary thing just to help out on a specific design goal. So right now, my focus is entirely on Grim Dawn, Forgotten Gods, post-release of Forgotten Gods. In terms of other projects, we do have the project that Madeira is spearheading. He'll let you know about that when he's ready. It is pretty cool. Visually, it looks awesome, and the mechanics are almost all, you know, getting to that release state. I'll let him talk to you about what it is exactly. And whether I work on that more later remains to be seen. But we do have some other projects in mind that will probably start ramping up in the future. And we'll talk about those when they exist, because right now they don't. And how many people are currently working on Grim Dawn? Let's see. We've got designers, artists, programmers. Like 7 people are involved with Grim Dawn. 7 to 8, depending. Some people switch in and out a little bit. How many programmers have been working on this game, and what do you code versus others? Depends, I guess, what you mean by coder. Because, for example, I'm not a programmer, so I do the scripting, like the Lua scripting for the games. Those are all the scripted events and stuff. So that's not like legit programming, I would say. It's like programmer easy mode. So I do a lot of that. I don't do actual programming. Whenever I have a programming request, I go talk to the programmer. We've had 3 programmers on staff that worked on Grim Dawn. Some others over time that did some contract work, but overall like 3. Riss, Kinry, and I'm not really sure the third one ever gave an online handle for you guys. But in any case, there's been 3. One that was ours, like primarily the network programmer. We have Riss, who's been on the project for a very long time, and now he's actually working on the Xbox port. And Kinry, who's been working alongside me to get you things like the Shattered Realm, the Crucible, the Devotion system. Please add official Russian localization. Localizations are actually handled by the community. I believe there is a Russian one, And if you want to improve it, you can always talk to those guys and help them out. Can I hire you? You can do laundry and cook. You need 100k per year though? That's an expensive laundromat. Can you see the bottom exclusive skill, please? Maybe someday. You really hope the new expansion has some equipment for Reaper, Nightblade, Necromancer. The current expansion only have that many Reaper equipment. I mean, Reaper is pretty powerful combo already, but I'm pretty sure there is more items for you to look forward to. Will Madeira give you a Christmas present spoiler? I don't know. That's up to Madeira, I suppose. Is it another ARPG? It is not. Competing with ourselves would be kind of a silly thing, wouldn't you say? Will there be new classes? I mean, we're literally going over the Oathkeeper right now. If you haven't learned about the Oathkeeper before, I do suggest you stop by the forum for the announcement and watch this stream recording later, because we've kind of gone over a lot of the skills already here. New factions? Yep, there's 3 new friendly faction, 1 new hostile faction. Can I press 2 one more time? You just press that. Seven people. We do a lot of all-nighters to make this happen. You figured. Well, hopefully not too many all-nighters. I have pulled 16-hour days in the past when I really wanted to get something through, but I try to avoid that as much as possible. Do we only have 7 people on staff? I mean, in the full company, it's more than 7. It's 13. But 7 on Grim Dawn, yes. We're not that big of a studio as some people think. It's not 20 people. How's our CEO boy Arthur doing? Haven't seen him for a long time. You know, one of these days we should get him up on stream, shouldn't we? I hope he's doing fine. I mean, he's got his new project cooking up, and he's actually done some work on Forgotten Gods just recently. Some level work, which is, I would say, his greatest forte. Any plan to buy the Diablo IP to make it justice? What's that gonna cost, like $1 billion? Thanks for making an amazing game. Thank you. That is all. Hi, hail Zantai and crew. Hi. Madeira is very sneaky. Any healing defensive skill that has a cooldown? Probably. Increase the capacity of stash. Is that possible? Yes, we are actually adding 1 more stash tab to the personal and shared stash. You read Horns of Korvek. Is that a new item? Maybe. Whirlwind stuff. Did I nerf Sunder? What? I mean, no matter how many times you ask for an official Russian localization, it's not gonna happen. As I said, that's community stuff. Throw shields while Eye of Reckoning? That's just crazy talk. Do we sometimes do work retreats? You believe we're all split up across the US, right? There's a bunch of us that are outside of the New England area, yes. So those people we don't really see much, unfortunately. But the locals of the Massachusetts area, we do get together here and then, you know, grab dinner, grab a few drinks. Try to not talk about game development, but then we do, because that's how we are. The grim god himself, Zantai. Well, any support for Ether Savagery, maybe. We already have a conduit but no dedicated gear except that. Not off the top of my head, but maybe. There might be something actually for you there. I'm trying to remember. Can you tell us what the price is going to be on Forgotten Gods expansion? It's going to be comparable to Ashes of Malmeth. Any info on how retribution added to attacks will work? It's very straightforward. You take your retribution damage and you add a percentage of it after being modified by your percent retaliation bonuses. What's the demo Oathkeeper called? You can't even steer away from the demo. That's called a shield breaker. Will there be a Gardalvor set to go with your finger of Gardalvor? Is it just all going to be middle fingers all across the armor? Word on the streets of Cairn is that Ether Ray is being touched upon. Care to give us a taste of what is in store? It's getting a buff to its modifier. It's getting a buff to its base skill. It's getting a buff to how fast it activates. It's getting a buff to how fast it rotates. And it's getting a buff to its item skill modifiers. I think it's getting a buff. I think that's kind of the summary here. Can I show you a new enemy monster? Any quicksand yet in FG? No quicksand yet, but I did end at a sand tornado. What can I show you? That's too cool. We'll save that for later. Eldritch Armor. Do you have any plans for increasing the staff size to make more games in the future? I mean, I don't think we ever want to get too crazy big because that tends to create a lot of bureaucracy and kind of whittle down individual responsibilities almost to the point where people don't feel like their contribution matters. I mean, there's pros and cons to having big and small studios. I don't know if we'd ever try to even if we could financially do it, I don't know if we'd try to go crazy big. But it really is dependent on, how many projects we have going, how we're doing financially, what kind of secure financial future Crate has, because we do want to, be in business, X years from now, no matter what happens. So far, our projects have done well, which is good. We can't assume that they'll always do well. We'll certainly try for them to do well, but worst case scenario, say like something doesn't sell as well as we thought for whatever reason, we want to have some money so we can keep existing as a company and keep making games for you. Will existing masteries keep movement skills, Nightblade Soldier, or are all movement skills tied to runes now? No, existing masteries get to keep their movement skills. In fact, Oathkeeper gets one of the new ones, the rush mechanic. And that's going to be the last skill I show you today. Vire's Might. But why just charge something when you could charge something and leave everything on fire on the way?
That skill's not ready.
You have a mechanics question. If you have fire, physical, lightning, and cold damage, is your overall damage reduced as opposed to just having physical, fire, or lightning alone? I mean, you will be best served focusing on 2 damage types typically, and converting other damage types to your desired damage types. So splitting yourself quite that much will probably be to your detriment, ultimately, if you're trying to push, the toughest content. How much progression can fully optimized Ashes of Malmeth character expect? I'm not sure what that question means. Great entertainment, off topic. Do you like fresh figs? That is a really weird question. I've had figs that tasted good and figs that tasted not so good, so far ambivalent. Who does the class design at Crate? I'm interested in getting into game design and find the mechanical and thematic elements of the classes to be amazing. Well, I'm glad you think so. The class design has been done by Madeira and I. Madeira actually did the Soldier, Occultist, Demolitionist, Nightblade, and right around Arcanist is kind of when I started doing more of that. So like Arcanist, Shaman, Inquisitor, Necromancer, and now Oathkeeper have been mostly my endeavor. Of course, with a lot of artists and programmer helping out, so it's not, forget to give those guys credit. They're the ones who make this actually that cool looking. I just come up with all the numbers in the middle. They're the ones you should be thanking, really. I mean, I didn't make this. Or this. Well, actually, I did do those. I have done a lot of game spell effects in the game, actually, now that I think about it. Almanaxi makes the better ones, I mean, hands down. Will you be able to mod the game? You mean large scale where you can make new maps, areas, add new weapons, creatures, etc. I mean, that's already all in. Like, the mod tools already allow you to do all that. A second class will be released or just Oathbreaker, or is it a secret? The Oathbreaker is the final mastery we're adding to Grim Dawn. Unless sales are so crazy good on Forgotten Gods that we decide to make a third expansion. But other than that, 9th mastery is the final mastery. Is the console version of Grim Dawn an Xbox One exclusive? Initially, yes. Whether we do any other ports later remains to be seen. It really will depend on how well the Xbox does and how easy it'll be to port it to other systems. The Xbox actually is the easiest one to port to, which is part of the reason why we're doing it. Do not release Forgotten Gods during Path of Exile League releases. I mean, when we release, it's going to be a matter of what's going on at the time, but I'm not convinced that we're really competing with Path of Exile anymore in terms of players. And unlike Path of Exile that has a league that comes and goes, like it's not like Forgotten Gods is not going to be for sale 3 months later. You can play the Path of Exile league and then pick up Grim Dawn a week or two or however much later you get bored of whatever it is you're doing in Path of Exile. So it's not really that big of a concern to overlap with one of their leagues, especially at this point. We kind of have our dedicated fan base. They have their dedicated fan base. There's a lot of overlap. There's people that play both games, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm trying to catch up to the chat to you guys here. What's happening with the Crucible after DLC release? I think 170 is a good stopping point for the Crucible, so we're not going to add more waves. Yes, if everyone buys 10 copies each, maybe we'll do a third expansion, guys. What was an example of something that I really wanted to do but it was impossible to implement programmatically? See if I can think of something at the top of my head. I mean, ultimately, I suppose I've been pretty lucky is that I've gotten a lot of the things that I've wanted my way in terms of like implementing stuff on the tech end. I guess I try to be realistic with my goals. Something that I tried to do that I couldn't. And I guess there have been some boss mechanics where I tried to do some really crazy shit and the programmer was like, no, don't do that. One of the jobs as a designer is to try to break your own game. What about the last modifier and transmute of that mobility skill? It increases the charge distance and reduces the cooldown. You hope that Whirlwind will be somehow available as a movement skill for other masteries. It will actually be on a relic. Is the circular dissolving sand effect under the Shattered Realms portal the same as Uzraka's celestial skill? No. How do we balance masteries and skills? However do you judge when a skill requires X level and how they improve when you add more points to it? I mean, honestly, it's mostly experience, playtesting, community feedback. Sometimes it's also just about how something feels, more so than numerically being balanced. Great Entertainment, what happened when we saw a blue and red checkered building? That is a missing texture, and you should probably verify your game files. Did Ashes of Malmus sell really well? Yeah, I mean, it exceeded our expectations. We thought it would sell 15 to 20% of Grim Dawn copies. It has gone closer to 24% now. At what point in the design process do we decide no more expansions and go to the next iteration? Example, Grim Dawn 2. I mean, that's very largely a financially driven decision. Like, is there a market for this expansion? And you have to assume that each expansion is going to have diminishing returns in terms of how many people pick it up. Because people get bored, people may not like what you're offering in the next expansion, people move on to other games. So every expansion generally has a reduced pickup rate. So it's reasonable to assume that if we do a third expansion, it's going to be low enough that it might be a risky financially risky endeavor. I don't know. We'll see. Forgotten Gods defies expectations. Maybe. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes either. Any character class ideas you have that didn't make it? Me personally, I had an idea for kind of a gunslinger class, but that kind of got merged with Inquisitor. Ultimately. I actually was like essentially working on a class back when the game was still in alpha on a 6 mastery kind of on the side for fun. And then Madeira was like, stop. Get something in that actually goes into the game, and we'll worry about future masteries later. So I stopped. But it's fine. I got my Inquisitor. Ultimately. Will Ulgrim get randomly swallowed by the Void again this expansion? That'd be kind of great, wouldn't it? No, but we're not setting a theme with that. Did I stop dropping fire when I skilled the last synergy? No. Show shield throwing skill again, please. Should probably put a shield back on for that. Any reason why the Necromancer class race skeleton skill makes randoms instead of being able to choose but with a cap for each type of skeleton? We liked it thematically that way. It's an interesting balance because it's kind of fun to like kind of roll the dice and get really powerful skeletons all at once sometimes. And it's rewarding that way. Are you adding more devotion constellations this expansion? Yes, we are adding a number. We're adding 9 new constellations in the Forgotten Gods expansion. What is my favorite land-based animal? That's a very important question. A honey badger, of course. You heard the word yes come from my mouth. Obviously, it was referring to whatever question you were asking. Does Oathkeeper have a Colossus form? Nope. What is my favorite Magic the Gathering card? Oh man, there's way too many Magic the Gathering cards now. I don't even remember. This was long ago. I think it was in Scourge. There was this 10-mana dragon that literally had an upkeep, and then I think it made all the dragons more powerful. I don't remember. I think it was like the Dragon Tyrant or something. That was like my favorite card at the time, because trying to get him out was such an endeavor. But then if you did, it was kind of like win. In your previous death stream, I said there's even more stuff coming to Forgotten Gods, but not confirmed yet. Any hints of that? Oathkeeper mastery? Can I show the oh, the set converter in action? Not today. Not today. You're really interested in where all the names in Grim Dawn come from. There are some really out there names. Long, long ago, when Grim Dawn was first being born, Madeira came up with some rules for how certain things should be named, and henceforth, certain things have been named a certain way with certain rules, and other things we just make up as we go. Does your shield block chance change when the shield is thrown? No. Are we going to add retaliation damage to skills and other masteries as well? Yes. Can I show you a new devotion proc, or did I already show one? I didn't show any today. I don't think I'll show you any quite yet. Will there be any mechanical changes to older classes? No. Mechanically, they're not changing. There are going to be bounce patches as always. Will Oathkeeper and Soldier be the tankiest tank of all the tanks in Tankland? I think that that trophy might be disputed between Warder and Oathkeeper Soldier, or Warlord. Not sure yet which one's gonna win. Ever consider adding a pet companion minion alongside your character? I mean, there's those little crystals you can get in Ashes of Malmeth, and the wisp you can get from the Collector's Edition. What about retaliation damage added to attacks to component skills like Shield Slam and Brutal Shield Slam? Yes, to one of those. What about the transmuter and the mobility skill? That adds a knockdown effect and makes it more fiery, because what you always need is more fire. What will be the theme of the next Grimace adventure? The theme is actually Oathkeeper, so you guys that are watching the stream today, you actually had a bit of a spoiler for what's coming on Monday. Can you expect patch 0.7 before Forgotten Gods? Very likely, yes. Yes, what Grava just said in terms of naming rules. Madeira came up with a lot of rules. When we make up new stuff, we do try to be kind of consistent, especially when it comes to like culture. So like Corvin names kind of have a similar theme. They're inspired by a lot of Egyptian stuff, Middle Eastern stuff. Around when will the next bounce patch be coming your way? Unknown. Maybe at the end of this year, maybe early next year. It really depends on when we decided we've done enough for it. There's still some more balance changes that we're going through that we'd like to do. Which name came first, Arkovia or Markovian? They sound too similar. That is a good point, but Markovian actually came first. And later on, when we were naming the area now known as Old Arkovia, that came around on its own, independently. And yes, they do sound similar. Will there be a transmuter for the Whirlwind skill for 200 weapons that gives increased damage, reduced mana, whatever? That is actually on my list of, if needed, add this. And it's going to be determined later. I'm not convinced it's necessary. If it comes out that it is, then it's something that we can potentially add during testing. When will the Oathkeeper class be available in Grim Tools? When we are happy with it, to the point that it is releasable, and it's not changing much anymore, because do note, everything you've seen today could change. Then we might tell Dammit to let it out there on Grim Tools for you guys to mess with. So just like when we did with Ashes of Malmeth and released, we told Dammit he could open up Grim Tools Ashes of Malmeth ahead of time, we'll probably do that same thing again and give him the go-ahead. So you guys can play around with all the new items, all the new skills, before Forgotten Gods actually releases. Do I actually have time to even play Grim Dawn? Here and there. I mean, playtesting is sometimes part of the job, believe it or not. Any info about Cadence Transmuter Discord reworks buffs? I mean, it's going to get more item support if that's what you mean. Will today's viewers get a different Grimace adventure on Monday? How about this? If you saw the stream today, you cover your eyes on Monday, and then you read the update. Is there going to be support for Chaos Casters? Through itemization? Yes. Do we ever consider a mechanic of extracting a spell you find on an item and then using it like a regular class spell, maybe destroying the item in the process? No, I don't think we'd ever do something like that. What's the second buff icon above the HP bar? That's for my boots. It's a legendary proc. What about mercenaries like in Diablo 2? That's something we considered a long time ago. It would take a lot of tech to make it work in Grim Dawn and to make it interesting enough on its own. Like, I think they would need some new mechanics, some Grim Dawn twist to it. I don't think it's very likely at this point. New Nemesis boss and expansion? Of course. Alright guys, I've actually gone like 10 minutes over my stream time here. I need to get back to, finishing this expansion for you guys. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope you liked this preview of the Oathkeeper. Those of you that showed up late, I do recommend you watch it on Twitch. We'll get it up on YouTube for you later. Stop by on Monday for next Grimace adventure, and we'll be sure to let you know when another stream is coming up. And I'll just leave you with a little bit of the Grim Dawn Forgotten Gods music that we played at the beginning. Spoiler alert, it's actually one of the mini-boss themes. Take care, guys.